times to sort of assert the first two with as much modal strength as the principle of sufficient reason. It seems just as strong as that. In fact, it's derived from that in some places. Even in the Theodicy, he uses this kind of point. And more positively, I'm just not sure I see what considerations of infinite analysis, what role they could even play in deciding anything about the first, in which case it does seem metaphysically necessary that God creates the best possible world.
I think Leibniz fears Spinoza. He does not want that people interpret his system like a sort of Spinozistic system. So that's the reason he maintained this contingency and this freedom, even if there is, I'm agree, there is difficulties with the theoretical foundation of its own of his own system. There is evidently some difficulties, but I think the importance of that explain that Theodicy in this doctrinal part cannot go to really demonstrative in strictly speaking. That is to say, God would be necessitated, absolutely necessitated.
Right, so I agree entirely that it better not turn out for Leibniz that this world necessarily exists. I agree with that. I guess I was trying to say that we might find resources in Leibniz to say it's contingent that this world exists, but necessary that God creates the best possible world. And that's exactly what it seems like he's up to in a number of passages. And so that was...
Okay.
I think my question goes to the earlier part of Professor Adams's issue. And it really, I can get at it by looking at the top of page 10 in the parenthesis, where you say that moral certainty is usually applied by him to inferences based on experience. And it's the last two, authority and testimonies. So I've got a simple historical question, and then maybe a normative question that bleeds into one that Professor Adams may have dealt with. But is authority and testimonies here a cipher for the appeal to, say, scriptural authority, which in turn is an appeal to divine revelation, so that what we've really got there is an appeal to divine testimony and divine revelation, with the code words authority and testimony standing in for that? If that's the case historically, it seems to me that's very important. And then that raises the normative question, epistemological question, of what the status of this divine revelation is in the system as a whole. Now, it seems to me if you take the view, a possible view, that divine revelation, say propositional revelation, gives you a pretty high form of knowledge, sort of put it up the scale, then the issue arises as to what place it has overall in the system. Now, it seems to me that if he has a high view of divine revelation at this stage, and he thinks it comes from a God with the attributes that he's attributed to God, if he finds a mistake in it, similar to what Aquinas has got going in times, or if he finds that it's morally offensive, he ought to then reinterpret the divine revelation because of the status that it's got in the system as a whole. So I suppose boil my question down to epistemic question down to this what would you want to say, qua philosopher, on the epistemic status, if any, for divine revelation in conversation with Leibniz?
That's very, very interesting, your remark. I will be short if you, Mark, want. I will say that, what Leibniz said in the preliminary dissertation, he said that the testimonies, the authority of Holy Scripture is founded on moral certainty. We have moral certainty, and this the foundation of the ground of this of these arguments that are taken from the Holy Scripture is the affair of theologian to found and to be sure that the authority of Holy Scripture is founded. And when it is founded by theologians, we have to consider, according to the conformity between faith and reason, that the truth of faith has truth of reason. They have the same form. They are truth in the same sense. So there is no contradiction between them. That's impossible. That the truth of faith may be, I don't know exactly the invraisemblable, not consonant with appearance. They may be contradict the phenomena, but if they does not contradict reason, when we can find a logical contradiction, they have the same force than the truth of reason.
Yes.
We have here apparently a whole variety of levels of claims about demonstration, about proofs, about arguments, about levels of certainty, and so forth. I'm asking a question about the top element in that, the strictly speaking demonstration, you might say, or the really gold quality demonstration. At the top of your page 8, you say you want to clarify Leibniz's conception of demonstration. A demonstration is not like any other proof. Its requirements are very strict. A demonstration is reasoning whose form and matter are absolutely correct. That means all the premises it contains must be proved. That is to say, also demonstrated. Now, that suggests that a demonstration will have premises, and that those premises will also be the subjects of demonstration. And that seems like it generates an infinite regress, and you might suspect that this is a very high standard, and at least no human demonstrator will be able to meet that standard. Perhaps God could meet it, but even he could not communicate it within a finite time or in a finite book. Now, you suggest that other kinds of things will not achieve this standard because they must be communicated in a finite period of time, and that this standard could not be satisfied in a finite period of time. But perhaps some kinds of truths will be subjects of demonstration. And these kinds of truths are truths that the demonstration will consist of an analysis. Now, is it the claim here that the analysis of these kinds of truths does not have any premises at all? So it can be done in a finite time. And so that these demonstrations satisfy the requirement of a demonstration that all its premises should be themselves demonstrated, it satisfies that requirement trivially because the demonstration has no premises, and consequently all its premises have been the subjects of a demonstration.
Okay, very, very interesting. Leibniz is aware of this objection of regressio in infinitum in demonstration, because he said when in the works on encyclopedia and all things about science, the general science, he has a reflection on this problem when we stop the analysis, and he said there is some axioms, there is some principle that are undemonstrated, and we have to accept, like the principle of contradictory or the principle of reason, or some axiom that A equal A, something like that. But also, so there are some axioms, some that are not demonstrated. And otherwise, he said that the problem of science, if we have